down. Land. I said land. Why aren't you slowing down?
I can't!
Stop. Just stop. Okay, I guess that still counts as a landing.
Hey, I'm your host, Stephanie Williams, and I'm here to tell you all about Prime Video original series Invincible and help refresh your memory on some of the series characters before Season 2 premieres. As you all know by now, Invincible has no shortage of memorable characters. They range from superpowered to super ordinary. So let's start this refresher with the titular character that the series is built around, Mark Grayson, aka Mr. Invincible himself.
Son, kids your age think they're invincible, and it holds them back, makes them careless. The thing is, you're different. You actually are invincible.
At the beginning of Season 1, Mark is an ordinary teenager balancing high school with extracurricular activities while patiently waiting for his superpowered Viltrumite DNA to kick in. Mark constantly lives in the shadow of his superhero father, Omni-Man, and wants to make his dad proud. Once his superhuman strength and flight abilities manifest, Mark quickly learns what it means to be a good and bad superhero. Throughout the first season, Mark faces challenges that make him reflect on the type of hero he wants to be. Through his actions like helping out Titan and getting to know Alan the alien instead of fighting him to death, he quickly establishes he isn't the same hero as his father, Omni-Man. But unlike Omni-Man, Mark still has to deal with regular teenager stuff to go along with the superhero stuff, like getting to know the girl he has a crush on, Amber. He also is navigating his friendship with William and trying to figure out what college he'd like to attend after graduating from high school. Mark has to do the unthinkable at the end of the season when he stands up to his father, who nearly kills Mark for his effort. Mark may not be technically 100% invincible, but his fighting spirit indeed is. And he'll need it if he wants to be the kind of superhero he always thought his dad was. Next up is the one and only Omni-Man.
Think, Mark!
Nolan Grayson is a Viltrumite who's sent to Earth to expand his homeworld's reach, but instead he started a family. Since then, he became a best-selling novelist, worked alongside the original Guardians of the Globe, and was a loving husband and patiently waiting on his son's superpowers to kick in. As soon as Mark's powers finally show up, everything Nolan has put on the back burner regarding expanding his homeworld's empire is put back into action. Nolan eliminates the Guardians of the Globe, begins showing his son how to use his newly manifested powers, and he tries best as he can to keep the secret of what he did to the Guardians safe. By the end of the season, Nolan realizes Mark is more like his mother than he is like him, which doesn't end well for anyone involved.
We need to talk.
Our next character plays a major role in Invincible, retaining his humanity and having the nerve to stand up to Omni-Man. If it weren't for the compassion Debbie Grayson instilled in Mark, things could have gone from exceptionally bad to Viltrumite takeover. Debbie is much more than a loving wife and mother introduced in the first episode. She's the one who gives Mark the pep talk he needs when his dad is putting too much pressure on him. She is also the one who begins questioning her husband's involvement with what actually happened to the Guardians of the Globe. Debbie may not have superpowers, but she is no one's fool or pushover. It's easy to see where Mark gets his resilience from. Another formidable character who would make Debbie proud is the one and only Samantha Eve Wilkins.
Anyone home?
AKA Adam Eve. Eve is so dope, in fact, she had her own special episode in which we learned her origin story. Eve is a product of an experiment meant to create weapons for the US government. Her powers manifested at a young age, so by the time we meet Eve, a member of the teen team, it's no wonder she's so proficient in using her powers. Eve is no pushover. She knows what she wants and what she doesn't. She moves on from Rexplode and the teen team when neither no longer align with her desires. Eve quickly becomes friends and superhero colleagues with Invincible and moves out of her adoptive parents' home midway through the first season. The one thing Eve doesn't do by the end of the series is let Mark know how she truly feels about him, and time will only tell if she'll ultimately decide to do so. Moving on to the guy Eve dismissed, Rexplode. At the beginning of Season 1, Rex did a great job of showing that he is a capable superhero with bombastic powers. He is also someone who could stand to grow up a little. Thankfully he does. Rex goes from cheating on Eve in the showers of Teen Team headquarters to getting into fights with a little girl who can turn into a monster and getting into it with an OG surviving member of the Guardians of the Globe to finally growing up a little and understanding what it takes to fully be a team player. Alright, moving on to another member of the Teen Team, Robot.
Hello? Hello? Robot! Hello? Anybody home?
He starts season 1 as the leader of the teen team, who quickly steps in to help put together a new Guardians of the Globe team. As the season progresses, it becomes apparent Robot is more than your average sentient being who is a master of robotics. He expresses feelings for Monster Girl, which eventually leads to him stealing DNA from Rex Blow and contacting the Molly twins for their cloning expertise. By the end of the season, we learned that Robot is really someone named Rudy Connors, and a character who everyone should keep their eye on because we've only begun to scratch the surface of his complexity.
Cecil Stedman, director of the GDA.
Cecil Stedman is another character worth keeping an eye on too. He didn't earn the role of head agent in charge of the Global Defense Agency just because he looked the part. At first, Cecil comes off as a cold and authoritative figure. However, in the empathy he shows for Debbie when everything hits the fan with her husband Omni-Man, his frosty exterior melts for a moment, exposing him as a caring individual underneath it all. Aside from the quick glimpses of his empathetic nature, Cecil means business and doesn't take his job lightly. He has a backup plan for the backup plan and is a realist regarding strategy. So it should come as no surprise that Cecil ends the season by working with DA Sinclair to create more Reanimin, but don't get it mistaken, not even the likes of Omni-Man can outsmart him. Amber Bennett is another character to not take lightly. She starts as a classmate of Mark, who soon becomes his girlfriend, and then she figures out she's dating a superhero.
I know you're a superhero.
No. You know?
I'm not an idiot.
Early on, it's pretty clear Amber doesn't need saving. She is the one to stand up to Todd, a sorry excuse for a school bully. Amber's low tolerance for lying ultimately leads her to breaking up with Mark, but she is there for him when he needs comfort and support the most. Last but certainly not least is the best friend any superhero will be fortunate enough to have, William Clockwell. William is the best friend of Mark. He doesn't have superpowers, but he is super perceptive and keeps Mark as grounded as possible throughout season 1. William is there to give reason when Mark needs it. He's also there to take full advantage of his best friend's ability to fly, especially once William finds out Mark is invincible. William holds Mark accountable as much as possible and is also there to comfort him in his time of need.
Your dad's Omni-Man. How did I never see that?
Alright, and that does it for this episode of Meet the Characters. Be sure to go back and rewatch season 1 and stay tuned for new episodes of Invincible coming November 3rd to Prime Video.